4 games, 0 goals, 0 wins, but fingers crossed that all changes tomorrow at the Stadium of Light as Villa travel up to Sunderland in search of our first Premier League victory and first Premier League goal of the season. I keep feeling like every week at the minute since I've started doing these longer format videos, I've said that to start the videos, so fingers crossed this is the last time. On the other hand, Sunderland have adapted back well to life in the Premier League, haven't they? Sitting 6th in the table currently. As I'm recording this, the Premier League games, the 3 o'clock games, are about to kick off, so that will all be subject to change. 2 wins behind their belt, 1 draw and 1 defeat. They've won both of their home games to kick off this campaign. It's not very often a newly promoted side goes on to win their first 3 games, so fingers crossed that doesn't change tomorrow and Villa do take something home from the Stadium of Light. On the other hand, depending on how Wolves get on in this game against Leeds, we could be going into that game bottom of the table. Again, we can't read too much into it. At this stage of the season, it's very early days, and hopefully, Villa do pick up a positive result tomorrow at the Stadium of Light. If the shoe was on the other foot, and if it was Sunderland coming to Villa Park without having scored a goal, without a victory to their name, I'd be a little bit nervous. I'd be thinking, oh, well, they're due one. It would be typical Villa to lose this game 0-1, 0-2, something stupid. So maybe we'll go in our way tomorrow, and we well, I say surprise everyone. It shouldn't be a surprise if Villa go and pick up 3 points. We're still favourites. If Villa turn up, if they play to their best, there's no doubt we will go and get the victory, but we haven't seen that so far this season at all, and there was nothing really to lift our spirits after that defeat on penalties to Brentford in the Carabao Cup, was there? There's a couple of interesting sub-stories to this game tomorrow. Bertrand Traore could make his debut for Sunderland. He is now available and fit for them, so that'll be interesting, wouldn't it, if he does get any game time tomorrow to see him return to the Premier League. I didn't think after his time at Villa he would be returning back to the Prem, so it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. If he does get any time. Gertruda as well is another one that signed for Sunderland this summer, a man that Villa were heavily linked with last summer. He could feature tomorrow potentially. I think there was probably some loose links to him this summer as well, but as we know through the summer and this transfer window, Villa couldn't even beat the likes of Sunderland to signings with the financial restrictions upon us. Absolutely insane, especially when you see that news about Man United today and the millions or even billion of debt therein is absolutely crazy, and Villa barely allowed to spend a penny. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, looking on to tomorrow, enough about that anyway. We've covered that loads across various platforms through the summer. But can Villa spark their season and get a victory tomorrow? It's going to be tough. I think there's similarities to last week's game against Everton, a team with a lot of momentum behind them. Started the season off well. You're expecting a big atmosphere, although I did go to the game last week against Everton and there wasn't really much of an atmosphere. It's a Sunday, 2 o'clock. So yes, it'll be full. Plenty of optimism for Sunderland, but I'm not expecting the most intimidating of atmospheres. I just don't see it. I don't see that being an excuse for Villa to not go and get a result. But they will be licking their lips at the prospect of Villa coming with us not having scored a goal. We're not even particularly creating much chances. I can't imagine the XG that for those that like those kind of stats is particularly high. Last week, the only real opportunity I saw us looking like we might have scored was that Buendia strike that deflected wide. Other than that, it was pretty scarce in front of goal. It has been all season. We did get off the mark, didn't we, against Brentford with that Harvey Elliott goal, which was an absolute gift. And it was a pretty weak shot as well. It shouldn't have made its way into the back of the net, but it did. We were hoping that would kickstart Villa. It didn't in that game. Villa should have won in the 90 minutes. Rodgers had a chance towards the end. Matty Cash had a chance towards the end, but it just wasn't to be. Carabao Cup isn't on the list of our priorities this season, but it was an opportunity to get a boost, get some momentum and get some confidence, which we didn't get. So this period for Villa now is going to be very, very important with the fixtures that are about to come up, obviously with Sunderland tomorrow, And then, of course, we've got Bologna in the Europa League Thursday night at home, Fulham at home, and Burnley at home before the international break, I believe, with Feyenoord away mixed in there too. So this spell of games for Villa is absolutely crucial. I think we need 6 points out of Burnley and Fulham, and I'd say we need 3 points tomorrow. Can I see it at the moment? I'm not quite sure, but I'm always going to stay positive, and I'm going to back us to get 3 points and get us kick-started, and then go and win the next two against Fulham and Burnley in the league. And we really need to do that if we want to keep our European ambitions. I mean, particularly Champions League ambitions that seem a long, long way off through the league anyway. But if we have any ambition of doing that, we do need to pick up, I'd say, at least 7 points from these games. Because after that international break, you're facing Spurs away, Man City at home, and they feel like very, very tough fixtures, don't they, with this in this current moment in time. But things can change very quickly, as I keep saying. I'm trying to maintain positive and trying to maintain the belief that Villa will turn this season around after the first 4 games. It has been a little bit of a disaster so far. In terms of the team and who's going to play, who's injured, we know that Youri Tielemans is still going to be missing, but it's not as bad as initially feared from what Unai Emery said yesterday in his presser. Hopefully it'll only be one more game. Hope maybe next week he'll be missing 2, but then after that hopefully he will be available, fingers crossed anyway. So not as bad as first feared, but still frustrating that we are without him. But the positive news is that Boubacar Kamara will be available. As we know, he came on against Brentford, so surely he will be in line to return to the starting 11 tomorrow, and that is a crucial man to return to Villa's lineup. The interesting question will be who will partner him in that midfield too. Will it be McGinn, or will Bogard keep his position? I think there's probably a high chance that that Bogard does keep his shirt. He has played pretty well so far. No thrills, but he reads the game very nicely. Probably needs to be a little bit braver on the ball sometimes, but that will come with time, and I'd be pretty happy to see him in the 11 again tomorrow. Will that mean McGinn plays further forward? Possibly, and Sancho comes on off the bench. I can see that happening with Harvey Elliott and Morgan Rogers getting the nod to start in those forward positions. Okay, Morgan Rogers didn't start in the week, but as we know, there was always going to be a little bit of rotation there. He's Unai's man, isn't he? Whatever we think of his form over recent period, he is going to start that game, I would have thought, 99% certain. Against Sunderland, there was shoots of recovery in his performance, a couple of really nice turns that we associate so well with Morgan Rogers, driving towards goal through the middle of the pitch, getting a shot off. Probably could have had himself a goal on another day, but it wasn't to be. But hopefully if we can get that Morgan Rogers back, see more of that again, that will definitely help Aston Villa pick up a few victories over the next few weeks. So I should think he's going to play with Harvey Elliott. Will Harvey Elliott play off the right? Will he play off the 10? That'll be interesting to see. Those two could potentially interchange as well. That could play to Villa's strength. I can't see Guesson keeping that starting position after Tuesday's performance. I thought he was poor. I think we all keep saying, I've said it myself, he's raw. That is often a term you use with a player that you're not seeing much from at the minute. And again, not writing him off. It's a new league. It's difficult to come into a side that just aren't looking like they've got any fluidity going forward at all. It's going to take him a little bit of time. So I'm not writing him off whatsoever, but I don't think this is a game for him to start. Potentially, maybe he has an impact off the bench, and hopefully so. I think that'll be the same for Jadon Sancho. I think he will most likely be coming off the bench to have an impact. It's also going to take him a little bit more time to get up to speed. He wasn't really featuring at all, was he, in terms of pre-season for Man United, whereas Harvey Elliott was part of Liverpool's plans, and he had a pre-season as normal, so he's come in and he's pretty much ready and raring to go, isn't he? And Ollie Watkins will lead the line. Donyell Marlon didn't stake a claim at all, did he, to earn himself a starting position. I do feel for him slightly. I think a lot of Villa fans are eager for him to do well. He's not really had much opportunity, but when he has, at the start of this season anyway, he hasn't claimed the opportunity. as I've said before, has anyone? No. So it does feel harsh that he might be seen as the fall guy. Often Emi Buendia is seen as that man too. I mean, he's barely played for Aston Villa over the last year or two, obviously with injury and being on loan. And he still kind of gets the finger pointed at him a lot. But, I mean, there's a chance he could start as well. He started at Everton last week, didn't he? I thought he was okay. He was busy. I just get the feeling that Elliott might take that position off him, especially at that game against Sunderland. So it is going to be a tough fixture. But I said it last week, and there were positives to take from last week. Villa dug in defensively, ground out that point. It was a hard-fought point on the road against an Everton side that had started the season positively. They've lost to Liverpool today, which obviously is no shame in that. Martinez kept us in it, but he definitely earned us that point, didn't he, with that save from Michael Keane's header. So, of course, he's going to be in the starting 11 again tomorrow. If DeMarco Bizot played in the week, he's going to return back into the 11, and we know how crucial Emi Martinez at his best is to Villa. And maybe you could say a positive from this season is Villa don't look like conceding many goals, particularly, obviously, other than that Crystal Palace game. Other than that, we've kept a couple of clean sheets, so if you are scratching for positives, that might be one. I should think Mings will partner Ezri Konsa. Pau Torres didn't really cover himself in glory in the week again. His header led to the strike for Aaron Hickey to equalise. I don't really point the finger at him too much for that goal. However, it still was, you could say, a Pau Torres error that led to that Brentford equaliser. So I should think Tyrone Mings will return to the 11. I think he's started the season pretty well. Him and Ezri Konsa look like the partnership for me to go ahead with Ian Maatsen or Luca Dean. You probably think Luca Dean will come back in for this. I'd like to see Maatsen. I thought him and Jadon Sancho linked up quite well on the left-hand side in that Brentford game. I'd like to see a lot more of that, but I'm not sure Unai will deploy either of them to start in that game against Sunderland, unfortunately. Right back will obviously be Matty Cash. There's going to be no change there. I mean, the forgotten man, Andres Garcia, isn't he? I think he's injured alongside Ross Barkley. Another forgotten man, obviously, with personal issues, as we were told last week. So all the best to him. Hopefully we see him back in a Villa shirt as soon as possible, because we do need depth in that midfield position that was so strong last season. It's just not there, is it, at the minute? So fingers crossed him and Tielemans return pretty soon. But like I say, Andres Garcia, despite his injury, does seem to be the forgotten man. He came in, didn't he, after he signed, played a few games, I think, when Cash must have been injured. And Villa fans were impressed. We liked the look of him, didn't we? He got forward well, offered something a bit different, but it just doesn't seem. I mean, he's still young. It's going to take him time, but Unai doesn't seem to really trust him. And will we see much of him in a Villa shirt, or will we see him have much of a career in a Villa shirt? I'm not sure. We've seen what happened with like Nedeljkovic, Ozcan, the Turkish kid that we brought in as well. Obviously, he hadn't featured at all. Villa just looking to buy these players young, sell them on for a little bit of a profit, help with PSR, SCR as well. Will Garcia be one of those? Potentially so, but going off on a bit of a tangent there, he's not really the man to be talking about for Villa at the minute. All that's to talk about is this game tomorrow, and can we finally get our season up and running? Fingers crossed. I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to back Villa to grind out a 1-0 victory. That's going to be my prediction. Might end up with egg on my face again, as a lot of us Villa fans have done over the last few weeks, but we've got to keep the faith, keep positive. Stick behind Unai Emery, stick behind the team that have served us so well over the last few years and back them to return to form. And fingers crossed that is going to happen tomorrow at the Stadium of Light. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your starting lineups, anything you'd want to see different from Aston Villa against Sunderland, and your thoughts ahead of the upcoming games. Bologna to come next week as well. We'll talk about that one as it comes. So, yeah, drop that in the comments, guys. Thank you for watching, as always, and we'll end with a big up the Villa.